Hi, I'm Brad from the IAP, and today I want to talk to you about a new process I've come up with, which is exothermic etching. Now, everyone knows what etching is. You use an acid or a corrosive substance to erode a surface, masking out part of it where you want to preserve. Simple. But what I wanted to try and do was etch down deep enough so we could actually impregnate a resin or a colour and actually use a useful layer rather than just a patterned surface. The problem with exothermic etching, or just etching in general, is once you start etching down to any usable sort of depth, the actual pattern what you're trying to preserve by masking it actually starts to get eaten away from underneath the masking. If you have a look at this picture, it demonstrates what I mean, because what we're doing is isotropic etching. Take a look at this. See, as you can see in the picture of the isotropic etching, the longer you leave it, the deeper it'll etch. But also, the deeper it etches, the further outwards it actually etches as well, eating away from underneath the mask, and you start to get this like concave pattern or shape appearing actually underneath the mask. Now, if you were to etch down too deep, it would eventually dissolve all the way underneath the masking and destroy what it is you're actually trying to detail onto the piece. Next to this, you can see anisotropic etching. And anisotropics is generally done with dry etching, which is using gases opposed to liquids to do your etching processes. Now that is pretty advanced. It's something I haven't gone into yet, though I have every intention of doing so. And basically, it allows you to keep the resolution of the pieces you're trying to etch, and it cuts out this under etching, which obviously is making all of your patterns narrower as the progress goes on. So, coming away from the picture now, what we're going to do today is I'm going to demonstrate how to make pens such as these. Now, this is the first one I've done. As you can see, it's a pattern that goes all the way around the body of the pen. It's continuous, it's a Celtic pattern. Same with the lid. And this has actually been filled with a black resin, whereas this one has been filled with a clear resin. So we won't bother using coloured dyes. There's not really a lot of point. All I've done different with this one is I spray painted the background and then cast it in clear resin, and it's still black. So don't bother with the dyes. Always cast in clear resin and colour the background to whatever you want it to be. But more on that later as we get to it. So I'm going to try and skip all of the ways it can be done wrong. I'm just going to show you the way what works right for me. Now, I'm not saying there's not room for improvement, because as I say, this is a new process. It's new to me. I'm still learning. But by all means, feel free to dabble and experiment yourself. But keep in mind you're going to need a bit of patience for this one, because it's not straightforward. There's a lot of ways it can go wrong. Just hang on in there. It does pay off in the end. When you find what's right for you, there you go. Okay, so let's talk about the etchant then, shall we? To make an exothermic mix, what you're going to need is ferric chloride. Here you go, a bottle of ferric chloride. This will be sold in various electronic stores. It's used for the manufacture of printed circuit boards, amongst other things. But what you'll find on the label is how to dilute it for different types of metals, and the metal what interests us is copper. So read the label, find out what the mix should be. I think you'll find it will be about 30% water to the rest being ferric. So what I would like you to do in an ideal world is take 700 ml of ferric chloride, and to that add 300 ml of water. And that will give you a nice litre mix, which is what I have brewing over here to the left hand side of me. So there we have a ferric chloride which has been mixed up to the suitable concentration for dealing with copper. So what do we do with it now? Well, first of all, we're going to make it into an Edinburgh etch. And to make Edinburgh etch, what you do is add citric acid. There we go, citric acid. Same stuff as what they use in the sweets and soft drinks industry. And to this, what we want to add to this litre mix is 100 ml, or 100 grams rather, of citric acid. So get your 100 grams in there, dissolve it, give it a very good stir. What you might find to make it easier to actually dissolve into the actual ferric chloride is to heat it up. And I'm not sure if you can see it from there, but we have a heating element in here at the moment, and this will take it up to about 35-40 degrees. Ferric chloride works a lot better when it's warm, so you can use it cold. It will take you a lot longer before the reaction starts to occur. What you tend to find is once you've added the aluminium, the reaction starts and it gently starts to heat the actual fluid until it gets up to about 35, and then it starts turning quite violent, which is what we're after. But what we're going to do, or what you can do, is pick up one of these little heaters and drop that into the fluid and heat it up to, like I say, 35-40 degrees. So we have the ferric chloride, 700 ml, 300 ml of water, and to that we've added 100 grams of citric acid. Now, is that everything? No, it's not. What we now want to do, because this is just an Edinburgh etch, we want to make an exothermic etching solution, and to do that we add copper. Now, all you need to do is take a piece of copper, like that. That's it, that's all you need. A copper piping, about 1 centimetre in length, and you can just drop that in and leave it to dissolve. That's it, that's all you do. Basically, once it has dissolved, the ferric chloride will be rich in copper. Now, how this works is when we add the aluminium to it, the copper ions which are dissolved in the solution reacts with the aluminium. And because it's in a blend of ferric chloride, it goes into a violent process of etching, which is what we call exo-etching or exothermic etching. It's very quick. To put this into perspective, when you're generally doing etching with ferric chloride, expect the process to take anywhere between 9 to 12 hours to actually get down 0.5 millimeter. So 500 microns, whatever you prefer. So what we're doing is actually increasing that speed from 9 to 12 hours down to about 30 seconds. It gives you an idea how violent it actually is, and you'll see this as we actually do it. But so yeah, just take a piece of, this is actually a piece of brass, but don't tell anyone. Take a piece of copper this size and about 1 centimetre in length, copper piping, drop it in, let it dissolve. Perfect. There's your mix. Now this mix will last you quite a long time. You can use it over and over and over, just keep the lid on. And once it starts taking too long to actually do it, then it might be time to make up a new batch. Like I say, it's cheap enough to do. To make an exothermic pen, you'll need your masking. Now with aluminium, the best mask I have found is vinyl stickers. Same made for sign writing vehicles and so on and so forth. And to do this in an ideal world, you will own a vinyl cutter or plotter. Now if you don't have one of them, not a problem, go on eBay. Plenty of people on eBay will actually cut vinyl stickers for you, and look for the guys who sell sheets of letters and so on and so forth, and drop them a message, say, look, I've got some custom artwork, I'd like you to cut it for me, would you mind doing that for us? And I say, yes, not a problem at all, it's going to cost you £1 a piece. Brilliant. Now I found a bloke called Vernon, and he's brilliant. Whatever I send him, more to oblige him to actually cut it, and he'll do it exactly how I want. And what I ask him to do is leave the part which is generally weeded out, the negative part of the image. I actually want him to leave this on here. And basically what I mean by this, if we can just find another piece. Here is the vinyl from the first pen I made. I'm sure some of you will recognise the pattern. And what you'll notice is the vinyl's actually being removed from the pieces of the pattern where to actually be etched. Now that's called a positive image. Now if it was a negative image, all of this bit would be removed and the squares in between would be left. That can be good if we're dealing with brass and copper. That's not exothermic etching, that's standard etching, and we're not covering that in this tutorial. But what I will say to you is once you're getting your vinyl made up, ask him to leave the negative on there at all. And what he'll understand that is please don't weed it, because weeding is removing the bits what you don't want. So what we actually want is everything. Now you won't be able to see what that is, just looks like a big black square, but that's actually stars, and I've actually got the background stayed on there as well. So having a positive negative image like that, it gives me the option to either do a brass pen or an aluminium pen. And once I do the video tutorial on a brass one, you'll see what I mean with that. But what I actually have here, I have some stars, some more stars in case I muck it up. I have several circles, a few larger circles, some wolves, and some trees. So we're going to try something a little bit different this time, and hopefully you'll learn how to do exothermic etching in the process. So what I want you to do first is turn your pieces of aluminium down to dimension. And what I have here is the body of a pen, and I have the lid of a pen. They're not drilled. That's important. Do not drill your pens out yet. Just turn them down to size. Now, this was another mess up of mine. I used to turn them down to size, drill them out, do all of that work, polish them up, then get to this process, mess it up, and that was a lot of time wasted drilling it all out and everything. And another problem is if you do drill it out and you then etch it, you've then got the problem of the etching getting inside the hole you drilled out, which, let's say for argument's sake, was 12 mil. You're etching down 0.5 mil in depth. You've just removed 0.5 so on that inside diameter and 0.5 on the other side. So you've actually made it into a 13 mil hole. It's not very precise in what we're trying to do with pen making, so don't drill it. Just what we'll do is turn it down to dimension, we'll etch the pattern on, then we'll drill it. And what I like to do is, past there, I'll leave an inch on there, just so I can grip the piece in a chuck without actually having to mess around with the actual piece, what we're working with. So there we are, one lid, one body, and a nice lump on the end of it so we can actually handle the piece easily. So let's get this camera moved over onto the workbench, and you can actually see me apply the vinyl stickers to this, which goes on to the step just before we etch it. So bear with us. Let's start with the lid of the pen, shall we? And the first thing I will emphasize is what you want to be doing is leaving part of each end of the lid as aluminium. You don't want to etch down the ends. The reason this is if you do etch it down and you're trying to fill all of that with resin, you've only actually got an edge which is 0.5 mil thick and it would chip. So what I do is I leave a piece of aluminium at the end which gives it a lip for the resin to finish on, which protects the end from getting bashed and chipped off. So what I'll do is put my pattern in the middle of this piece and then I'll trim it down to actually length on each end. But first of all, what I'm actually planning on doing with the lid is putting a moon on it. And here's my moon. If I can actually peel this off in one piece. Voila. Once you've actually got the piece on, if there's any bits you want to trim off, you can do that with a scalpel, just to tidy it up a bit. And as I want this round, I'm just going to trim it up so it is round. So I'm sure we all agree, none of us have seen a funny shaped moon before. Okay. Give it a good push down, make sure it's firmly stuck. Make sure your part's very clean before you do this as well. You might want to rub some isopropyl alcohol on it just to clean off any grease which is on it. And make sure you've got a nice firm adhesion of the sticker. Okay, so we have one big moon curving around the pen. Okay. Now, to the rest of this pen, what I want to add is stars. So if I take my sheet of stars here, first of all, let me just work out the actual length for this. I'll just take a pen I've made before, lay that down the side, and that'll give me an idea of my footprint of how much aluminium I'm actually going to leave on and what I'm going to take. And what I can do to make this a little bit easier is mask off the piece I want to keep. So what I generally use for that is electrical insulating tape. It's perfect for the job, really. And we'll just stretch this out here. Okay. So there we have some electrical masking tape at the top and bottom with our pen piece starting to take shape at the bottom here. So what I'm going to do now is add some stars to this part of it. Now, with etching, obviously, because we're dissolving, there's a good probability that the points of these stars are going to disappear into the solution. I'm not really that bothered about it, as long as I actually have a speck of aluminium where this star or sticker was. That'll do me. If I get any more than a speck of aluminium, brilliant. You know, that's a bonus as far as I'm concerned. All I'm aiming for is a little bit of metal to be exposed where these star stickers were. So when it's actually had the black background applied to it, you've got a nice stark contrast of where there's stars. And as you can see, I'm working my way around this quite nicely now, and Yeah, don't go too small with your stickers. You know, I've made the mistake before of trying to put too much detail into the vinyl stickers. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with a etched pen I done for a diving friend of mine. It's a red pen with a dolphin, and the dolphin was made up in a Celtic pattern. I nearly pulled it off, but the lines of the actual dolphin were just too thin and it was dissolving too quickly, and I just couldn't get the actual depth needed to get a decent colouring on there. So as you can see, although I am putting the odd small star on here, the majority of these are the larger ones for that particular reason. One other thing to bear in mind with this is don't just try and put your stickers down one side and then maybe on the other side as well. Your stickers really need to go all the way around the piece, otherwise what you'll tend to find is you have a nice solid surface on this side and a solid surface on this side and a soft material in between. And when you come to sand it down and you're applying what you believe is just even pressure to the actual pen piece with the sandpaper, it will eat through the layer of resin which is exposed on this side, for example, a lot quicker than what it will the surface of the aluminium on the other two sides of the pen, obviously. The problem what you'll tend to find here is you will actually sand off the resin going right down to the bare metal a lot quicker than what you intend. So what I tend to find is by having the aluminium scattered around the piece, is what I'm doing here with the stars, it acts as support posts, giving me a top layer to sand down to, and I won't sand past the top of these stars obviously. Without these stars I wouldn't really be able to tell how far I need to sand down to keep it even with everything else. And I might think I've got a bit too far, or I think I've got a little bit further to go when I sand too much off the piece. So yeah, be careful. Try not to handle the vinyl stickers if you can. The oil on your fingers will affect the adhesive on the back. So I like to use a scalpel blade, makes it a lot easier anyway. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the pen lid. I'm quite happy with that really. It's quite an even spread. I'm trying to keep it as random as I can, but yeah, it looks alright, doesn't it? Let's hope it stays that way when I etch it. So that's the lid. Get the lid out of the way. Pen body. Here we go. So what I'm after, first of all, is to etch out or band out the top and bottom levels. Now if we use a pen for size reference, I had a little bit of one here and quite a big bit at the top. If I was to hold that in retrospect, pretty much to the same proportion. Look, this time I'm actually going to have a bigger band at the bottom with a smaller band at the top. You'll see why when I actually get to the end of it, but just take my word for it for now. The first sticker I'm after is my wolf. There we go. Let's get a wolf off the go. You can see I've got a band across the bottom here that the wolf is standing on, and this is going to be used to protect the bottom piece of my pen. Don't worry about getting it perfect on the bottom. What is more important is getting the wolf perfect. Any bit which isn't right can be peeled off or backed up, as I'm going to do, with a piece of electrical tape. You can see there's a little bit of a gap going on there, but don't worry about it. It's alright. It's alright. So, here we go. Can you tell what it is yet? So we've got a wolf. He's howling up to the moon. Okay. So remember what I said about being a pattern that goes all the way around the pen. You don't really want to just leave it as that, because that will be hell when it comes to sand that down. So what I'm going to do to bulk it up a little bit is add some trees. Because why? Well, trees are big. It makes my life a lot easier. So let's take a tree. Apart from that, fits in with the scene really, doesn't it? Yeah, tree. I'll put a bigger tree. Got them in a few different sizes here. It's my biggest. I'm going to get this one close to the wolf if I can. You see, trees starting to overlap each other, which is fine. I don't mind that. Bit of treeage going on. I'll squeeze all of the air bubbles out. We don't want the etchant to get underneath the tree or ruin it. So you're really going to make sure to squeegee down. There we go. Now, can I get away, do you think? A smaller tree up here, like it's in the distance. I don't know, but let's try it. I can always peel it off, as long as I don't etch it. Yeah, that works. Looks a bit odd at the moment, but when that's silver and etched, that'd be quite nice. What I am going to do, this tree's a bit too overpowering for my liking. There's actually an air bubble sitting in the middle of it as well, so I'm going to get rid of this big tree. Voila, big tree gone. That's what I love about vinyl stickers, you know. Don't look right, pull it off. Get another one on. And like I said before, what I'm trying to do is fill in all of these massive gaps just so I've got a bit of support from the aluminium. There we go. Bit of a gap going on there, but that'll be okay. As you can see, I've got some trees going around the pen with a wolf sitting down, howling up to the lid, which is the moon and the stars. Very poetic. So, like I said, I've just got to get a bit of insulation tape around the top part of this pen now, just to give that a little bit of protection. I am a little bit concerned that I might have to keep this pen away from Swinbo, because I can see this one disappearing into the abyss of what they call a handbag. But they're not handbags anymore, are they? They're more like suitcases. You know, us blokes, we sort of walk around with as much as what we can fit in our coat pockets. Admittedly, there isn't really a lot of room to actually put your hands in them. Well, my coat isn't anyway. I've always got stuff stuffed in my pockets. But these bags, you know, they drive me mad trying to find something in them. They always seem to find it though. It's like there's a magic piece of string attached to the object they're rummaging for in their handbag. Or just they pull it out. Look, I've got my keys. It's like, how the hell did you find keys in that bag? Oh, anyway. One of the many mysteries of life. Women. Alright. Anyway, get back onto the pen. There we are, yes, we've taped over the top of the trees, but I'm not particularly bothered by that. That's fine. I am bothered by that. Let's get nice and level. Wunderbar. Okay, so onto the etching. Now, say hello to my Exothermic etchant. It's hot because I've got this heater in it. So this should react pretty damn quickly. So let's have a go, shall we? I will take a stick, so I don't have to put my fingers in it, and I will take some insulation tape. I will take do the lid first, shall we? Yeah? Okay, so we'll get the lid and we will sticky tape the lid to the stick. God, it's starting to feel like a Blue Peter presenter. Stretch it and get it nice and tight. Don't want it falling off there because you'll be tempted to put your fingers in to retrieve your piece, and I don't want you to do that. Alright, you should be wearing gloves as well, like me. See? Invisible gloves, but these are gloves. So wear gloves. Now, you can go down a route of timing this if you want. It's round about 30 seconds. I'm more of a put it in, and when I think it's about right, I take it out again. What I will get is a glass of water so I can dunk this in to cool it down, and you'll see why. Okay, and on we go. It's off. Look at those bubbles. Now this is an exothermic reaction, very violent. Now I'm counting in my head. Okay, I'm going to try that. Rinse off. But don't panic. Once the piece is rinsed off, you can inspect the piece. Ooh, my stars are peeling. Might be a little bit too hot, this solution. Okay, I'm going to let this cool down for a little bit, then we'll have another go. Okay, so let's go again. Three, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, getting brave, 22, 23, 24, 25. Off it comes, dip and splash. All of my stars are starting to peel up. Thought that might happen. Which means I'm losing all of the points on the stars now. You can push them all back down again. Obviously, damage has already been done underneath them. And now this is up to you how far you want to push your etch. That's etched enough now for the effect to take place. You could sacrifice a star by peeling one off and seeing how your etch looks. Yeah. I'm going to push this a bit further. Now the citric acid helps keep the smut off the piece, so just stirring it. Okay, I'm happy with the depth of this now. So, okay, and on to the next piece. Okay, what you can see here is some reddish smut. So what I'm going to do is just take this now, rub it with a toothbrush and get rid of that red, because that will stop the etching process from happening. Okay, so that's all of the red smut removed. Be gentle with the toothbrush, you don't want to damage your actual mask, which I've done a few times. Okay, in for the final dip. Same again, covered in red smut. So I'm going to brush it down so I can see. Okay, let's go again. The more you can, this is your sacrifice. You're trying to figure out how far you can actually go down without damaging the outline of your piece. Because the deeper you can go, the better the contrast will be. But it's a fine line. You push it too far, you've just ruined the piece and you've got to start from scratch again. As deep as I'm going, just go and clean this piece down. And all we have to do is peel all the stickers off. Okay, so if you bear with me while I get all of this bit done, and we'll take a look at the pieces after, shall we? Okay, so yeah, I'm relatively pleased with that, to be fair. As to which way I'm going to have it round, I'd imagine that way. So we have a moon and stars surrounding the pen. It's going to need a bit of a clean up to get the rest of this smut off it, what you can see. And as for the pen body, we have the wolf with trees going around. Okay, so I'm going to give this a scrub down with sulfuric acid now just to remove some of the smut from the back of it. And then I'm going to get it melted up. I'm going to get it drilled and I'm going to turn it into a pen. But as for the tutorial, I mean, you guys know where you're going from here. This was the actual process of exothermic etching. I'm not going to carry on filming to show you the making of it into a pen, but by all means, I'm sure you'll see the pictures posted on the forums when I actually do finish this. I'm going to make this into a kitless. It will be my first kitless pen. Bit of a statement, I'm hoping, for a first kitless, but yeah, I'm happy with that. So have some fun, see how you get on. Any questions you got, feel free to drop us a message.